been on a sporting event or a concert, you have undoubtedly enjoyed watching an instant replay or an awkward kiss on a jumbotron. But have you ever wondered how exactly they make those things? Great question. Because they're designed to be so massive, jumbotrons are not just supersized versions of the kind of TV that you would find at a local Walmart. But they are in fact built quite differently than those regular TVs or monitors. To find out how, I read some articles by the manufacturers of these displays and ended up hearing back from Daktronics, who weren't able to tell us any proprietary information but definitely helped us out. So early jumbotrons from the 1980s used cathode ray tubes or CDRs similar to what you'd find in the old school televisions. But unlike normal TVs which only used one cathode ray tubes, these jumbotrons had many of them, with each one only being responsible for a handful of pixels instead of thousands of pixels that were produced by a standard TV at that time. This meant that earlier, even large jumbotrons had pitiful resolution. In fact, one early jumbotron model, size of 30 feet, had a resolution of 240 pixels by 192 pixels. That's well below even a VHS tape. Not to mention that it's extremely heavy and thick. Mounting it above the arena is very difficult. Oh yeah, and it consumed thousands of watts of power. Now, one intimidating solution was plasma displays, but they too had weight issues and were prohibitively expensive. Now, in hindsight, the solution to all of these problems seems pretty obvious, doesn't it? Why don't you use cost-effective, compact red and green and blue LEDs that you can have a full spectrum of the color cake and eat it too? But unfortunately, red, green and blue LEDs, particularly bright ones, were much more complicated to manufacture back then due to the complexities with the required chemicals. Now today, those problems are solved mostly and most jumbotrons work by using the exact same principles. So they have one LED module per pixels, with each module containing proprietary wiring. So not like an HDMI connection, and then a number of green and blue LEDs along the certain amount of video processing hardware, depending on the manufacturer, in order to make fine adjustments to the image quality. And now some screens use through-hole LEDs with reflector cups. This makes them brighter and helps them deflect sunlight for outdoor and long-distance application. Others use surface-mounted LEDs without reflector cups, giving them better viewing angles for places that don't even have to contend with sun, like indoor arenas, for instance. These modules can be several centimeters across for larger screens, meaning that a typical HD resolution for modern jumbotrons actually end up being really big, which they can get away because most of the viewers will be sitting far enough away from the screen for the picture to still look pretty darn sharp. Many venues are actually more interested in upgrading the jumbotrons to HDR versus 4K because at typical viewing distance, greater contrast ratios and dynamic range is believed to be a bigger difference to the perceived image quality. But back to talking about size. The largest jumbotron covers nearly 16,000 square feet. It can be found in Atlanta at Mercedes-Benz Stadium and it's in the shape of a ring. It's a great example of how modular construction of modern jumbotrons out of these little LED modules can make them highly customizable. But being huge and modular aren't the only ways that jumbotrons are different from smaller screens. They are also driven differently from an entire control room that has to have equipment powerful and flexible enough to change what's on the screen quickly and accurately, depending on the display's aspect ratio. Hence all little buttons that you see on the typical jumbotron control board. This enables the right camera feed or visual effect to be displayed at the right time. And because jumbotrons have to be visible from far away as well as in bright outdoor conditions, their brightness goes far beyond what you'd see on a regular TV. It's not uncommon, in fact, for jumbotrons to have thousands of nits of available brightness. Like the scoreboard at TIAA bank in Jacksonville, Florida, which can get up to 9,000 nits. Put that in perspective to an average TV that will output 300 nits, with a fancy HDR home TV doing about 1000 nits and change. So this requires a special grade of LED that can even need some cooling due to its immense power draw. And even though modern LEDs based on jumbotrons are much more power efficient than 80s and 90s technology, the screens are still notorious power hogs due to their sheer size, with the well-publicized sideline displays that AT&T Stadium outside the Dallas each require 635,000 watts of power. That's roughly 1,000 times more than an average gaming PC. Good thing that Jerry Jones still has enough money to pay for that power bill. Speaking of paying bills, if you want to pay your mind a bill and find out about tech, then like this video and don't forget to subscribe.